I don't know. I guess there's a segue here. Davante Adams got his freedom of a different kind, traded from the Raiders to the Jets. We knew this was coming. It took a couple of weeks. Yesterday was the day that Davante Adams, now a member of the New York Jets, met with the media for the first time with his new team, with his latest new team. He's gone from the Packers to the Raiders, now to the Jets. Here's Adams from yesterday talking about the trade that reunited him with his former Green Bay quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
It's a weird thing to say, that I'm happy, but, obviously it was time for a change. And, this whole thing kind of transpired a little weird, but it's at the end of the day, we in a better place. I think that Raiders are in a better place as well. And, everybody can kind of move on.
Would the Raiders be in a better place trading one of their best players?
It's a great question. I've actually had this talk with some of the guys, coach and, Tom Telesco, same thing. And I said, sometimes if you don't properly, or let me choose my words carefully here. I just think the usage sometimes and the way you go about things and the idea of how you're trying to get the ball to certain people, if it's not working, I think some of it is get me to a place where I'm obviously got a lot of familiarity with this offense and with the quarterback, and he understands how I see the game and how I see the ball thrown and all those things, and sometimes it can make it easier.
Were you able to tell the Raiders, hey, I really want to go to the Jets?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, that's where it started. I mean, all the fans, everybody who's associated with the Raiders, they see everything. They see, a trade demand, and they just think it's like he wants out. He's quitting on the team. When it's more about just being able to feel like I don't want that helpless feeling. For me, I'm going to control it with the way I run my routes, and I'm always going to have faith in that part of it, but sometimes you got to make it easier and get to a situation that allows you to be yourself.
It's good that he chose his words carefully. I won't do the same thing, not that I ever do. What he was starting to say before he stopped himself in response to the question of how this trade makes the Raiders better, basically it removes a guy who had become a pain in the ass because he was complaining constantly about how he was being utilized in the offense and they weren't getting him the ball as much as he wanted the ball. And I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to help you understand what and why and how in the world trading Davante Adams, after giving up a first-round pick and a second-round pick to get him, paying him for 2 years and 6 weeks of a third year, and getting in return a third-round pick that can become a second-round pick if he's a first-team or second-team All-Pro, or if he is on the active roster for the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, how that is better for the Raiders, how it makes them better. It doesn't make them better. This is a declaration of victory and a retreat by the Raiders at best. They'd rather have Davante Adams. They'd rather have a team that was good enough that Davante Adams would want to be there. And I continue to maintain that when Davante Adams was upset last year, as evidenced by the receiver series on Netflix, Antonio Pierce, after he got the permanent head coaching job, as permanent as any of those jobs ever are, and it might not be very permanent if things continue the way they are for the Raiders, he reached an agreement with Davante Adams to get what Adams called before the season a fresh slate, an opportunity to convince him that he should want to stay. And after the loss to the Panthers, that was it for Davante Adams. Hamstring injury at the end of practice a few days later. By the weekend, it became very clear to me that it was just a matter of time before the trade talks started. We said that on Football Night in America, and by Tuesday he had been, number one, in request of a trade, and number two, already in the process of leaving. And it was always the Jets, these other teams. And look, I'm in a good mood today, so I don't want to throw stones, but we know how the media game is played. We see reports where, it's the Jets and the Saints, it's the Jets and the Saints. That's a favor to the Raiders, to try to get the Jets to give up more, to make them think the Saints were in it. Were the Saints ever in it? We ever hear anything other than maybe one or two reports that it was the Jets and the Saints? That's baloney. Steelers were kind of in it, but you know what the Steelers do? The Steelers sit and wait for an opportunity to literally, pun intended, steal the player. They were doing it with Brandon Ayuk, and I think they were doing it with Davante Adams. If they can get the guy for a song, they'll do it. Otherwise, we're fine with what we have. So it was always going to be the Jets, and ultimately it was the Jets. And the belief is, by some educated observers with knowledge of the dynamics of the team. This is Woody Johnson doing his damnedest to justify the rash decision to fire Robert Saleh after only 5 games. We're going all in. We're mortgaging the future in order to boost a present that's been undermined by the decision, premature, misguided, in my opinion. You can disagree with me. It's my opinion. I got the microphone. Premature, misguided decision to fire Robert Saleh after 5 games. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.